Welcome back, everybody. It is Thursday, so of course it's time for Talking Kids with Dr. Caitlynn, Lexington pediatrician Dr. Caitlynn Iddings, with us this Thursday morning, as she is every single week.
And we're going to talk about preventing child abuse, since April's Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. And we're going to be talking about some signs that we can look for of abuse and when to report it. Good to see you, Dr. Caitlynn.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah. Okay, so how should we start? I mean, because this is such a big issue, unfortunately.
It is a big issue, and so we're just going to keep it very basic. And basically, in Kentucky, by state law, everyone is a mandatory reporter. So you may think like, oh, well, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a doctor, I'm not, someone that works with kids. But if you see something that you think is suspicious and you ignore it, and then it comes out that something bad happens to that child, and someone knew, like, oh, well, so-and-so saw that, you can be held accountable for it, right?
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so if you see something, you are a mandatory reporter. And I always tell people it's not your job to tease out what actually happened. All you have to do is, call the hotline and say, this is what I saw, it seems suspicious, and it can be anonymous, so it doesn't have to necessarily come, back on you if you're worried about someone, getting angry or something like that. Yeah. So the big things are, child abuse tends to happen in younger kids under age 4, mainly because they're nonverbal and they can't speak up about it a lot of the times. And so there's an acronym that we use called the 10-4 rule. So if you're under age 4, the areas of the body that would be concerning, because 4-year-olds are wild. Like there's a bump here, there's a bump here, there's a bump here. So there's certain areas of the body that we would expect bruising from just like everyday falls. That would be, the forehead, that would be the shins, that would be the forearms, all of those sort of areas. But the areas that we would not suspect or think, oh, that's kind of a normal bruise, would be the TEN, so the torso. If you're under age 4 and there's lots of bruises on the torso, especially if they look patterned like a hand or a cord or a brush or something like that, that would be very suspicious. The E is ears. It's very hard to bruise the ears at baseline, so a lot of times you'll see sort of around the auricle here like a big kind of bruise, and that usually is from someone grabbing and pulling or hitting the head. That would make us very suspicious for other head injuries as well. And then the N is the neck, right? So kids don't have much of a neck, so if you're seeing like bruising on the neck, the ears, or the torso, that should be much more alarming to you than if you see it just like on the shins or the arms or other places that you would kind of expect them to.
Yeah, something that could be more easily explained,
Yeah. And then the other part of the 4 is if they're under 4 months, there really should never be any bruising, right? Because those babies aren't mobile. They're not getting around. They're not falling into things. So if you ever see an infant, especially under 4 months of age, who isn't really moving around yet, have any bruising whatsoever, that should be reported.
Yes, okay.
And what about like a consistent pattern too of these sort of...
Yeah, so the pattern is part of it, so if you see something where you're like, well, that kind of looks like a handprint, or that looks like, kind of like brush bristles or something like that.
I just mean if you could see repeated injuries.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh, that type of pattern as well.
Yeah, so, and that's the other thing. If you see like one, it's like, well, but if you see like, oh, there's one here and there's another one here that's healing, and there's another one here, then it could be like an ongoing thing that's been going on.
And before we wrap up, let's talk about the pinwheels that people may have seen, because that's part of this awareness month.
Yeah, so the pinwheels, you'll see them, at courthouses, and different corporations can get them and put them. And so basically, those pinwheels you can purchase to kind of give support to the Prevent Child Abuse Foundation of Kentucky, and that has lots of great resources for parents, for educational material, all sorts of things. But it's basically like every time you see one of those pinwheels, that represents a child who has been abused. And so when you see like all of them, oh, there's so many there, there's so many there, that really helps put it in perspective of kind of how bad of a problem it is.
Yeah, this is an issue. And again, everyone is a mandatory reporter. All right. 6:55, Dr. Caitlynn, great to see you as always. Thank you.
All right, stay with us. Good Morning Kentucky, back in just a moment.